And there's intimacy on the radio, and there's naturalness on the radio that can never be replicated on TV. The marvelous resurgence of radio as a political force in this country.
News-related radio programming is evolving.
There's a huge hole in our dialogue that can be filled by the synthesis of traditional radio and the freedom that comes from a live podcast. You're about to experience Cowboy State Politics live. Here we go.
Up and at 'em. It must be 8 a.m. in the Rocky Mountain West.
How far up? That's what I want to know.
Up and away, buddy.
How far up are we going to go this morning?
Well, here I am hanging out with Ken Pendergraft again. People are going to start talking. You and I.
That's what this
two
is
mornings
about.
in a row.
This is what it's all about, right? And hey, David, I hope you're having a good time. Things are kind of well underway.
Yeah,
You'll find out about the rest when you get back.
And as far as I know, I mean, it all looks good to me. It feels like it's running smoothly. I don't know about did you see that story? First of all, good morning. My name is John Baggett. You guys know Ken Pendergraft, a state representative. And he asked me a while back if I would be around to do a little talk radio with him once in a while. And this is once in a while, 2 days in a row. And I really enjoyed it. I did go back and watch us yesterday. And
So you have a thicker stomach than I.
well, talk about not being photogenic, because I'm looking over here because I can see myself. Could you get a bigger screen to show a bigger head
Oh, we could.
that I'm looking at here? Anyway.
We could, but we have room for, what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 screens, 9 screens right now.
Yeah.
Is that insane or what?
Well, a little
We could send
narcissistic.
somebody. We got way more technology here than they had in 1969.
That's right. Oh, good, man. I got a topic for us today. It's personal, and it's related to what you just said. So, but first thing I wanted to ask you about, did you see that story about the, I think it was at Rock Springs, that the FedEx guy, remember this is Rock Springs, Wyoming,
Yeah.
FedEx guy walks into somebody's home to get a signature
Not for
a
long.
package. When I saw, someplace else, probably no big deal. All he's doing it. Not in Wyoming.
Yeah.
I mean, what could he have been thinking? He's got to be new. A transfer from the suburbs of Chicago or something. I don't know.
He's liable to get himself a rude awakening. I was thinking when you said that about a story when we are in session down in Cheyenne, we have an Airbnb that's about a block away from the Capitol. And the first year that I was down there, Tony Locke out of Casper. And
out of Wheatland.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, it's your old friend John Baggett. He was a year ahead of me, class of 78 in Wheatland. So I know Tony.
Yeah,
God bless you.
It's a small town with long streets. But anyway, Tony and I are rooming together, and late one evening, the door opens, and this drunk stumbles through the door. And Tony, for those of you who don't know Tony's he's stacked pretty well.
Still, because he was in high school. He was one of the studies. He was a year ahead of me.
He's a
and
wrestler. Yeah.
we were underclassmen. Were afraid of Tony and some of his chums.
Tony meets the guy at the door. Says, "Can I help you? Where do you think you're going?" And of course, I'm over across the room, and I go heels because I have no idea what the guy's going to do. Anyway, we handled it in pretty short order and sent him on his way.
He's lucky he didn't leave there as a sieve.
Perforated, yeah.
Exactly. But anyway, I saw that story and I thought to myself, because I've been, I'll say this softly so Deb doesn't hear. I do think she's up, but, I've encouraged her to get her concealed carry. And, so on.
Or
She's
just carry.
resistant.
You don't have to have a card from the government in Wyoming. It's
not in
nice to
Wyoming.
have the reciprocity, but you don't have to have it.
Yeah, no, but I'm one of those guys. I live with a little paranoia once in a while, and then a story like that comes up and says, see, it happens that some guy just walks in his shorts and his FedEx, oh wait, that's the UPS guy in the shorts, right? FedEx. Do they wear shorts too?
I have seen them in shorts. I had a friend down in Colorado Springs. He was a FedEx driver. If you ever get the chance to ply a FedEx driver or a UPS driver with a couple of beers, they've probably got a number of stories under their belt.
I bet. Yeah, the people coming to the door.
Yeah, we don't want to go there.
Anyway, that's probably the bonus aspect of that job. But anyway, that just hit me because of the fact that so many people are armed in the Cowboy state. I don't think it was a good idea. And from the story, they still FedEx still hasn't commented on it.
We had a reporter contacting some of us, the conservatives in the House specifically, and I don't know if they contacted Senate people, but they wanted to know, is Wyoming the best armed legislature on the planet? And they were trying to see who carried and who didn't. And we had more fun with him. And I told him, I said, there are a couple questions you never ask in public. You never ask a woman how old she is, and you never ask a rancher how many cattle he's got, and you never ask anybody in Wyoming if they're carrying.
Right. It is kind of like, it's funny because of what I've read. I don't know how accurate it is. And again, anybody out there decide, let's just fact check bags. Well, go ahead, because these are mostly opinions. But this, I think, is accurate that the crime rate in Wyoming and other in most towns in Wyoming during hunting season, when everyone is armed, that crime goes down. And and I think what probably goes up is courtesy. The courtesy
an armed society,
the politeness aspect goes up, because I don't think he might be armed. I know he's armed. If you're driving through Medicine Bow during antelope hunting season, that guy's probably armed. So
I've been carrying virtually every day for a long time, and I've been stopped by cops a couple of times in those years. And of course, first thing I tell them when they come to the door is that I'm carrying, and they all very, very polite. Not a problem. Do you want me to lay it on? No, just leave it where it's at. And two of them, when they left, have said, "And thank you for practicing your Second Amendment rights."
Yeah, that's my expectation of law enforcement here. Certainly was not, and I would not have done that. Probably should have when I was scooting around Colorado. I just didn't bring it up.
Isn't that a shame, especially now down there where you really may well meet it?
I had the gun pulled on me in traffic one time. Quick story. We're kind of off here. I have a topic I want to get to, man. I'm excited about it. So hang on. I was in traffic on my way to work, and at that time I was driving I miss it. It's a 2011 2SS Camaro. It was, hot rod, beautiful. I should send you a picture, put it up there, but I miss it. So anyway, I sold it before I moved back home to Wyoming. Part of the deal with my wife, so we could, put cash down on our new home. But I'm driving to work one day, and this guy perceived, and I'm for those of you that are familiar with Colorado, you'll know Monaco and right before you get to Quebec. Okay, so you know where I'm at out there?
Yep.
In the tech center, and that's where the Radio Taj Mahal was, iHeart Radio.
Also where our shop was in Denver was right off of Quebec. So.
Yes. So I'm in the tech center. I'm on my way to work. I'm going into the sunshine, headed east, and this guy perceives that I cut him off, right? And I don't think I did. To this day, I think I had plenty of room, and I had to get over because I had to turn left onto Monaco to get to the iHeart Media Radio Taj Mahal. And that was it. Next thing I know, He's right up next to me. He's pulled over here a foot from, I'm surprised he didn't hit my mirror, a foot from my window of my Camaro, and he's pointing at me and yelling at me. And this is Denver. We've all had it happen to us where somebody's upset with us. And he's pointing at me, and I didn't even roll down the window. I just looked at him and kind of like, well, what are we going to do here? We're in traffic. We're not going to fist fight. And sure enough, next thing I know, I'm looking at a handgun coming up. Looked like a Glock. I don't know for sure, but I got a good look at it because, again, he was no more at that point than 6 feet away from me. And so now I'm like, holy crap. But, remember, I got this hot rod, and he's in a lifted GMC Jimmy black. And so, boom, I step on it. I go right by. I certainly wasn't going to turn into work because I wasn't that far away, literally within a half a mile. But I kept going. And, Ken, I don't know if you remember this, but that Greenwood Village area, Quebec is where the police station was. So I was less than a mile away from the police station. This guy must have been relatively new. He follows me, and I know right where I'm going. I turned into the police station parking lot. Right in front, they had an overhang in front of it, and I went right to the very front like I'm a delivery guy. And the guy he's right behind me, like 5 feet from my back bumper. He doesn't realize. He looks over and he sees the Shield logo up on there, and that's what he spins out. I just walked in, reported him, and they even had the police station had his plates on their security cameras. And it turns out the guy had multiple road rage incidents.
Wow.
And they didn't need me to testify. They had so many other. They just brought him in. He finally hit that threshold that they were going to take his license away. But
I had a little incident, kid from Bighorn trying to drive in Portland. And Portland is all bridges. And if you miss one, you're screwed for a while. You got to go find your way back. And I ended up down in this area, and I elicited a little bit of road rage from a fellow driver. And he walked up. I had pulled over and was trying to look at the map and figure out where in the heck I was and how to get to where I wanted to be. And he starts banging on the window, wanted to drag me out of the car. I just reached back and pulled the pistol out and laid it on the dashboard and looked up, and he was running away.
Point made.
Yeah.
Made your point.
Sufficient. He should have known. Wyoming plates. He should have known.
That's what I say. But again, talking a little bit about Denver traffic. We have this thing, Denver, and again, I 32 years in Denver, 88 to 2019. We lived in Denver till we moved back home here finally, and traffic was one of the biggest issues. I'll tell you this story of how I knew it was long past time for your buddy Bags to come home. So I'm driving to work one day, and again, very typical to have confrontations with other drivers, right? And I had a 45-minute one-way commute from Lakewood to the tech center, Ken. And so what I did is try to keep myself sane is I would say my prayers. So I'd leave the house, and for 45 minutes, this is with, no accidents, no weather. That's it. I mean, some of those commutes could go up to an hour and a half, one way.
Tell me about it. Colorado Springs to Boulder every day.
Oh God. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, that was how I handled it. I would say my prayers. And I'd have time to include everyone and everything, and ask God to help me. And I knew it was time to come home. When one day I was in the middle of my prayers, and a guy cut me off, and I paused in my prayers and flipped the guy off, and swore at him. He couldn't hear me, and. Honest to God, it brought, when I realized what I just did, it brought tears to my eyes. And I came home, asked Deb. I came home that day, and she was like, "What's wrong?" I said, "I'm losing it. I am losing it, sweetheart. That's it. We've got to make a serious effort to get out of here. I can't stand this traffic anymore."
Your story's not far different from mine, because it was traffic and a couple other things that it's like the frog in the boiling water, and eventually the water got hot enough, and I said, I got to go home.
Yeah. Well,
I did.
We have that kindred experience, dude, and it's going to be a funky transition here. Not one of the, but I wanted to talk to you, and I really appreciate the opportunity here to vent a little bit. It's Bags venting, Bags rages. This is a topic that bothers me a lot, especially lately. It's really come up because of Artemis 2 and this great success story. So excited. Ken, you and I are around the same age, and we grew up, and I can remember exactly where I was, Mrs. Scranton's class, Miami, Florida, third grade, and I was an AV boy. Raise your hand if you know what the AV boy did. Well, we were the guys that had the TV on the
You're
cart.
the one with the projector on the cart, and you understood how to thread the film.
Bingo. My man, you know. So that was my job, and it was cool. The best part about it is you had a hall pass. While everybody else had to be set in their seat, we were wandering the hallways with our hall pass, fetching the, in this case, the television that was up on the big cart, and wheel it into Mrs. Scranton's class, and watching.
Got one wheel that wouldn't roll straight.
Exactly. I have that one at Walmart every time, by the way. But anyway, that experience, I'm 65 years old this month, and I remember it vividly. And it's one of the great memories of my life. I'll never forget it. And watching the whole process of landing on the moon and whatever was going on at that time. I think they were already on the moon when class started. I don't remember what time the actual one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind was spoken. But you remember how fuzzy that picture was and blurry and so on. But anyway, that thrill of a lifetime has stuck with me, and probably most of our generation will never forget it. And that's July of 1969, right?
Right around there. I have a little side story to tell on Neil Armstrong, and I don't know whether it's true or not, but I've heard it, and I've actually heard the video where he said at one point after he had walked on the moon, he says, "Good luck, Bob." And for years he would never respond to why he said that. And finally, some reporter asked him about it, and he said, "Well, Bob's gone now. I suppose I can tell the story." Anyway, forgive me, this is slightly off color, but he was trying to persuade his wife to participate in a particular activity. She wasn't in the mood. And she said, "I'll do that when the little neighbor kid walks on the moon."
Ah.
And the little neighbor kid was Neil.
That's awesome. I have not heard that story.
I have no idea the veracity of it other than hearing him say, "Good luck, Bob." I didn't hear the story where he later explained it. That's always tickled me.
That's great. I'm going to share that one for sure. But I have something later I want to show that Buzz Aldrin is in a particular video. So here's the beef. I'll just read this real quick, the description. Moon landing conspiracy theories claim the United States faked the Apollo moon landings from 69 to 72. How many? 7 different ones landed on the moon. Of course, Apollo 13, we know about it. That was, we were trying to win the space race at the time, and to get more funding for NASA, distraction from the Vietnam War. Man, what a time in our history.
Had to have a reason to invent Tang.
Yeah, the Tang. And then we had the squirt food just because we wanted to pretend we were astronauts. Proponents of the conspiracy allege NASA filmed the landings in a studio, often claiming scientific anomalies in photos, despite overwhelming evidence and experts debunking these claims. Okay, so here's how it touches me personally. I have someone in my life that I love very much, and is super important to me. And
It's not me, folks.
It's not Ken. It's not Ken. But he is on board with the conspiracy theories. So him and I have been recently going at it. He's significantly younger than me, and I'm not going to give it away again because I love this person, and he's involved with my life and my family, and can't wait to see him the next time and have somebody hold him while I smack him around and smack some sense into him. No, I wouldn't do that. Maybe. So he is on board with the conspiracy theories, and he sends me some of the more prolific conspiracy theorists, their arguments against the fact that we landed on the moon. But he sends all these what he thinks is evidence to that fact, and not only that, he makes reference now. I was very involved, and still am, and I'd pray for this guy virtually every day, with his faith, with the Christian faith, and I was involved in that. In him, he went to church with my family, and so on and so forth. So, but he actually does use, Bible verses, with reference to the firmament, and the fact that that Earth is our home, and if you're going to make me quote Bible verses, I'm going to be embarrassed because I don't do that well. But there is reference to the firmament and other areas in the Bible, but it has been manipulated by the hoax theorists that we can't leave, and it's very much like the flat earther conspiracy theorists and their position on it. Like we can't leave Earth is basically breaking it down because of the cap over us, which they call the firmament. Are you able to pull up something? Did you find?
I can pull up any number of things, but I would need to know, because you sent me a lot of stuff, and I have queued up the Buzz Aldrin thing. If you were.
Oh, okay. So yeah, let me introduce that. So one of the arguments of the conspiracy theorists, the lunar conspiracy theorists, they say that Buzz Aldrin himself on the first moon mission, eventually in his older age, said something that they have interpreted to say that he says that we never went to the moon. And somebody confronted him and it told him that he was full of BS and that he never got there. And I found this YouTube video, if we could pop it up. Watch how Buzz Aldrin reacts to this guy. It's hilarious. 2002.
You're the one who said you walked on the moon when you didn't. Calling the kettle black, if I ever thought of it. Saying I misrepresented myself.
Away from me.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
Buzz! Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Violence is, I don't recommend violence.
He's not the guy that you met on the highway.
Yeah, no. Yeah, thank God. These guys, first of all, God, there's so many aspects of this that bother me. At that time, virtually all of them were military men, and most pilots, obviously. So these are people who served their nation in the military, especially at that time. They were probably very likely either World War II or Korean War veterans, right? And that then eventually got into the space program. So we're talking to, they're disrespecting veterans. And you start with that, and then to claim that that they never did it, the whole thing was faked. I mean, what do you think about that? There's so many, and it is so prolific that this has happened, and somehow it's gotten out of hand. That I would say, maybe 1 out of 10 people don't believe we landed on the moon. There's an article that I found there. This was in 2019. And, this guy brings, he thinks he brings credibility to this argument. I saw something where, I don't know, I think it was Neil. No, it was Charles Duke. He was on the last mission. Charlie Duke was an astronaut, and he says in just his missions, the Apollo missions, over 400,000 individuals were involved with the space program, just the Apollo. 400,000 people. I mean, the 10 people involved with the Watergate conspiracy couldn't keep that a secret.
Yeah. It's, you see a lot of things, even in what I'm doing, where 4 or 5 of us will get together and how are we going to handle something? And okay, let's not leak anything.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Oh, yeah.
400,000 people are all part of the conspiracy, and Pinky swore.
Exactly. That's just one aspect of it. And again, I mean, we have, I think it's 17 Americans have walked on the moon total. And so part of the argument and part of the...
They've also had ones that have flown by to see debris.
Not even counting those.
Yeah, but I mean, that have flown by that have, in the videos and footage that they've taken, you can see things on the surface. So we staged all that too. Oh yeah, we left the platforms and some of the equipment that we were using while we were up there. They're still there. But here's a big one. This one is the one. So our friends in Russia and China, those are the other ones that are able to and have the technology to send aircraft up there. They haven't landed on the moon, humans, but they've been up there and scouted it out. And somehow, some way, we have managed to get China and Russia on board with this hoax. Because if you Google search, Russia's reaction to Artemis 2, they're congratulating America, the USA. They're congratulating us. Another great moment in scientific history, blah, blah, blah. Basically, you can tell that they're like, oh, crap. They beat us again. You can kind of read between the lines and catch that attitude. But they're just nowhere in there to say, hey, this is crap. They're lying to us. It's a hoax. Proof. Yeah. If they could possibly prove it otherwise, they would. They'd go nuts trying to prove that we're wrong. Well, anybody would. If you had solid proof that this was all a conspiracy and was fake, it'd be one of the biggest stories, but hasn't really worked out that way, has it? No. And so there's probably somebody out there who's listening to Cowboy State Politics with your buddy Baggs and Ken Pendergraft that said, wait a minute. Well, you could text me at the 307-278-9598, or you can email me too at wyomingbags307@gmail.com, and it's bags with 2 G's, Wyoming Bags 307. You also sent me a video. It starts with a New Haven Journal-Courier "We Did It" headline. Let's see it. Okay, well, let me push all the right buttons here. Remember, I got up early, and so I'm trying to remember what did I said. Oh, there we go. So here's the area. This is a good video here, and it's long, so we'll cut it off.
In the 21st century, one of the greatest achievements in history still remains a source of controversy.
Controversy.
Big words.
That's one small step for man.
I still get chills. Just got chills.
One giant leap for mankind.
Did the Apollo
Pause it right there for a second.
Really happen?
Because that's part of their conspiracy. How the hell? Because there was a camera on one of the legs of it. So they're saying, well, if he's the first man on the moon, how is there somebody filming him?
Who took the picture?
Who took the picture? Okay, well, there's a camera on the leg of the eagle.
somebody,
the lunar landing.
somebody thought of that in
Module.
advance, the same way they do on every spacecraft since.
Right. Remember, as you said, this is the first one to land in Apollo 8. So now we're at 11. So there's at least 3 other missions that have gone up there and scouted it out and scooted around the moon and looked at things. So here's what we're going to need. Here's what we should do. We should be prepared with a camera, and let's make sure we have fixed this signal. That's another one of their arguments. We didn't have the technology to communicate 200 and some thousand miles away, blah, blah, blah. Well, they figured it out between the Mercury missions, the Gemini missions, finally Apollo missions, and multiple test runs. They were able to figure it out. So go ahead and we'll see what else we have.
Or were they the biggest
these
hoax
computers.
of all time? Trevor Weaver has dedicated years of research to the Apollo missions and was once a supporter of the moon landings.
We didn't go to the moon, and that is an established fact. NASA provided all the topographical data they had, all the photographs, all the massive models to Stanley Kubrick, so they could actually fake moon scenes.
Could the moon landings actually have been faked by Hollywood director Stanley Kubrick?
This is how
the history
elaborate.
books say otherwise. That Apollo 11 astronaut Edwin Buzz Aldrin spent 3 days traveling to the moon and was the first to follow Neil Armstrong's historic footsteps.
Beautiful view. Isn't that something?
I'm totally in favor of freedom of speech. But I think people need to be responsible when they think about intentionally, for their own benefit, misleading the young people who are the future leaders of our world.
That's what's happening,
Moon
brother.
conspiracy theorists have been a small but persistent and vocal group.
Okay.
Over the years, often confronting and
this is
accusing
that video
astronauts of lying. In 2002, when conspiracy theorist Bart Sibrel buttonholed
One more
Buzz
time.
Aldrin, his temper got the better of him.
You're the one who said you walked on the moon when you didn't. Calling the kettle black if I ever thought of it. Saying I misrepresented myself.
Away from me.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
The punch stirred a generation less trusting of traditional
I'm good
media.
right there, so we can pause it. So you could see how elaborate these hoax theorists are, and to what ends they go to prove their argument. And then they get online, and you and I've talked about it before, the blessing and the curse that the internet is. And you get enough of those folks and to a generation that is used to getting their news, Ken, from the internet, that the idea that most of these folks that are posting are idiots, or they don't know what they're talking about, and they make stuff up.
That
You've run into that in politics, for God's
no,
sakes.
It's never happened to me. Never happened to me. We're going to have to pay a couple bills here, folks. So we're going to take a little break, and we'll be back shortly.
Yeah, I know. The weather seems to be toying with us. 60 one day, 42 the next, and pretty soon, my friends, those 6s and 4s are going to turn into 3s and 2s. Though we all want to avoid it, that white stuff is coming, my friends, and you will be shoveling the walk in it. It's cold, it's unpleasant, and nobody likes to do it. But you could make it just a little bit more comfortable and prevent your feet from turning into a giant block of ice. In fact, you could keep them nice and warm and toasty, and your toes will never even know that they're outside. The rest of you may be frozen solid, but at least your feet won't be. To make all this happen, you just need a pair of socks from the Buffalo Wool Company. They are the finest socks that I've ever put on my feet. To get you a pair, go to their website, thebuffalowoolco.com. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Are you one of those guys that listen to the president just a little bit too closely and now you're tired of winning? Are you getting the feeling that there's been way too many good things happening in our country and you just can't take it anymore? Well, if you are, and you think you should follow Rosie O'Donnell's example and get the heck out of Dodge, you need to call Rebecca Bextel at eXp Realty. She'll make those foreign country living ideas a reality for you. All you have to do is call 307-699-3519, and she'll make sure some freedom-loving, red-blooded American will now live in the home that you no longer want. If you want to sell your house, or if you want to buy one that's way better than the house you have right now, give Rebecca a call. Again, her phone number is 307-699-3519.
I've never felt the freedom like I do. I feel stronger every day, don't you? Well, I can show you how. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. I've never felt the freedom like I do. I feel stronger every day. I'm only gonna get stronger.
Some of us are back. Coming back, Bags.
In the house, back in the house, your buddy Bags, Ken Pendergraft, Cowboy State Politics, and
That was close.
the usual. Yes, I told you if I get through this without, saying the other one, it's just to be luck. But David Iverson, who's normally sitting over here, he's out turkey hunting. He better get one. I mean, if he's gonna take time off, he
Yeah.
better get one or two.
Bring
I
us
think
a
the bag
leg.
limit is two.
Better
Yeah, bring us a leg.
turkey leg.
Remember John Madden, and he'd put 6 turkey legs on a on a turkey, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what I think of when I think of turkey. Anyway, so by the way, next hour we've got a very special guest, somebody who I am very impressed with. We've been friends now for about 6 years or so since I moved back to Sheridan, and we I knew a little bit about Mr. Bill Patton when I met him. I knew he was a veteran. I knew he was a pilot, and I did not know which aircraft he flew in the era that he was in the Air Force. And so I had recently a chance to talk with him about his service, and then.
Watch this. I can make him change positions.
Oh, hey, there you are. We're
There,
up, Bill.
Sneaky.
Bill Patton, ladies and gentlemen, a pilot. He has a small aircraft, and for the first time for me in a small aircraft, now I've taken that United flight multiple times over the top, I went out with Bill. He invited me. Actually, I invited myself and just kept the pressure on. No, he was very generous and said, hey, get up, let's get after it, and let's go for a ride. And so we did. On Monday, beautiful day, and it was perfect. And so I wanted to talk to Bill, and I wanted to do a whole hour basically with this opportunity just to honor veterans. Ken, you're a veteran, Army veteran, Fort Carson. Where did you go to basic, Ken?
I was at
Benning?
No, South Carolina. I was at Fort Jackson.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Tank Hill, no less. The Tank Hill Renegades. We were the worst of the worst.
Really? Or the best of the best?
Yeah.
Sort of? And so anyway, and we will talk about your service here coming up as well. And I did send some photos of some of the aircraft that this young man over here has flown. And I got to tell you, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag here. We're not even to that topic yet. But I think I told you this on Monday, Bill. You know how us kids in our aircraft, and I was a model builder, and one of the ones that I built was the F-4 Phantom. Mm-hmm. And I tell everybody, because, I love the P-51. I have my favorite planes, and the P-51 Mustang is up there, and various other aircraft in there. But at the very top is the F-4. Remember when you told me, I said, well, what did you fly? And you told me it was the F-4. There was a pause there. I said, really? And I think it's the fighter jet that's the most badass. Can I say that on streaming?
You can say whatever you want.
BA.
Quit listening.
BA looking aircraft, even up till today. I mean, I realize there's faster ones now and more stealth ones now and all that. And they're pretty dang cool too. But that F-4, it just looked mean.
Of all the things you flew, what was the most fun? And fun is not necessarily maybe the right word, but most fun, most interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting question, because I had that same question when I was flying from the safety officer, the wing safety officer, and I told him, I don't have fun. This is work for me, and it's a lot of work before you go out and fly. And we're not out there to have fun. We're out there to practice how to employ the airplane in war. And so I never had fun when I was flying. It was always serious.
What was your favorite jet to fly? Was it the F-4? Because I know you were the F-111 as well, and others probably, trainers and so forth. Was there a favorite in there?
Yeah, they say it's quite common that your first fighter is your favorite airplane, and the F-4 definitely was, because it was mostly a pilot's airplane. Now, I flew mostly at night, so we valued our backseaters very much. Some of the day guys didn't.
Backseater being navigator, weapons, et cetera.
At the time, there were some pilots in the backseat of the F-4, but when I got into it, those guys were just going out. And so they were always trained as a navigator in the backseat, and their title was Weapon Systems Officer, pronounced Wizzo.
Wizzo. Okay.
My car has a backseat navigator, too.
Yeah. And in the F-4, partly because of the time when there were pilots in the backseat, they took it upon themselves to call them Gibbs, the guy in back.
For?
Because they were the Gibb. They were the guy in the back. They weren't a navigator trained. They were a pilot trained.
Everything's an acronym in the military.
Well, it took me a second to get there, What do you expect? But anyway, we're going to get into it pretty heavily here in a little bit. But one of the relatables here in this segue from this topic to that one is the fact that virtually all of the astronauts of that era, the Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, were service members. They were veterans and had served their country, if not probably not old enough then, but Korean War at the time, and then maybe Vietnam, early Vietnam service. Korean, yeah,
and
that
World
era.
War II and Korean, I think.
So one of the biggest aspects of this lunar landing conspiracy theorists that makes me the most upset is that they are disrespecting. You saw this guy confronting Buzz Aldrin there in the YouTube video. That just pissed me off. And normally I don't cheer out loud when I see some guy punch somebody in the face out in public. And that's what Buzz does when this guy calls him a liar and says that you never did go to the moon. And my first thought is how disrespectful it is to that generation, which is the greatest generation, some of them, coming into the next generation, but all of them had served their country. And to, call them all liars is just insane. And they're very prolific with their posting of what they call evidence. For example, the one that everybody hears about as the critics claim that the flag waved, implying wind. And I've seen that video where, I don't know if you can call it waving. It looks to me like it's just moving, that the rocket that is lifting off the Eagle is sending out shock waves or something, and that the flag was held up by a horizontal rod, and the waving was ripples from it being unfurled.
What's to stop it from waving if there's no atmosphere and you're wiggling it as you're setting it into the ground and working it into the ground? It just gets pretty nitpicky.
Well, and we were talking earlier too about that this group of people, and some of them are flat earthers, and others are will reference the Bible in the about the firmament and about how God made Earth for us and we can't leave it, and there's no way to survive blasting through it and traveling beyond it, and yet every night we're looking up at satellites, and we get up at 38,000 feet on your flight over to Europe and see the curvature of the Earth. It's very obvious, very blatant. But I don't know, Bill, and Ken and I have talked about it. Maybe it's just me, because I have somebody in my life that has fallen for this hoax theory. That now I'm in there seeing what these people are saying, and I because I'm researching it to send something to my loved one that says, but have you looked at this? So here's what happens. I get back. So somebody like Jim Carrey says he doesn't believe it happens. And then I send him quotes from President Clinton recently commenting on Artemis, and quotes from presidents and world leaders and the Russian government, and so I'm sending him this kind of information, and he's sending me clips of Jim Carrey, the actor Jim Carrey, the comedian Jim Carrey. Look, he doesn't believe it either, and
I had a question related.
Your mic's not on.
I had a question related to something you said earlier. I've been on a few flights 30,000 feet or so. I'm curious, Bill, how high have you flown? And what's your opinion on the shape of the Earth from where you've been? Put you on the spot.
You betcha.
Well, I've been to not quite 50,000 feet in an F-111.
What does that look like?
It's the astronauts and say eventually it gets dark. And so the sky above you isn't blue anymore, it's dark.
Right. Well, that's one of the things. It says here, no stars in photos. So skeptics say the sky, and this is the Apollo missions, and some of the video and some of the photographs that were brought back or sent back. Skeptics say the sky should have stars. And then the truth of the matter is, cameras were set for bright daylight, making faint stars invisible, just like taking a photo at night under a street lamp. Why isn't that logic to debunk their theory accepted?
So why is, you look at the sky and it's dark. When you look down at the Earth, what does it look like at that height?
You can go on Google Earth nowadays and look, and that's what it looks like.
Okay.
And that would be my, and I have. I said, well, go look at what the pictures are sending back. Now, here's one where I kind of understand. Believe it or not, there's an aspect of their hoax theory that I kind of understand, and that is the technology of the time. And how we were able to communicate, how we were able to send pictures. There is a wide group in a certain age demographic that just doesn't think that we had the technology at that time with our computer systems as they were at that time. And I try to explain to my friend that this is where a lot of what you have now came from. They developed these systems in order that they could travel to the moon and communicate. And at the time, if you look at, we were looking at a video earlier, they were showing, mission control, and they had the computers up there. So I'm thinking of my friend, and he's looking at those, he's going, no way.
Well, I think most of those things you saw in mission control would be called consoles, not computers.
Yes, and it is a fact. I mean, they talk about my iPhone having more capacity than some of the computers at that time, but it was in reality where a lot of the systems and where a lot of the technology that we use domestically, civilians, came from the space program. And the ability to communicate long distances and to be able to send data. I mean, one of the great movies, and I've asked multiple times, have you watched Apollo 13? One of my favorite movies, period. Have you watched that? And because I know it's Hollywood. That is Hollywood, by the way. But in the aspect of having to adjust, and these pilots, these veterans, these service members put in a situation like that to be able to figure out how to, get home and to live, and using the systems that they had, and using math, slide rulers. The part in the scene where they're doing math on paper to figure out if they were going to, skip off the atmosphere of the Earth. Yeah. Missed it by that much.
Got a slide rule out.
That is
Hope I didn't inch myself. So what you see up there on the screen now, that is a live shot from the International Space Station. They have a website, and they have several different camera views. This one, of course, is looking straight down. It's kind of interesting. You can even see a little bit of a shadow there on the surface of the water. But they'll also do ones at the angle as they're coming around, and they're doing, I think it takes them like 3 hours or something to circumnavigate the globe, and it's pretty elaborate hoax. I gotta say, I think it'd be easier just to go do the real thing than to try to pull this off.
Yes, back to that aspect that we were talking earlier about getting congratulations from Russia for the Artemis II missions. Our mission. And so skipping ahead, let's go. We just Apollo to Artemis 2. Can you believe it? 72 to 2026 before we're talking about this again and significantly visiting the lunar missions. And so here we are in a new generation, and you see these, it's kind of strange that all the astronauts now are younger than me. It happened.
Most people are younger than all of us.
Yeah, well, but then here you have folks in their our astronauts in their 30s and 40s. Maybe one of them's approaching 50. I don't remember their ages. So now this generation, our generation had Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, et cetera, et cetera. And this generation has these new astronauts who I was very impressed with as far as their ability to communicate and to, the public relations gems that they are for the space program, that to have so many people believe what they're doing is a hoax. And that's all CGI. And again, imagine how many people now are involved. I think it was Buzz Aldrin. No, it was Charles Duke, one of the last ones to go to the moon, who said it's over 400,000 people were involved in some way, shape, or form with the Apollo missions.
I've never heard that before.
Not Mercury, not Gemini, but Apollo. Just, all the contracted, not just, they weren't just NASA employees, but
they've all got a pinky swear.
Yeah, they all had to pinky swear to agree to this this hoax. And so now, the new generation, now everybody involved with Artemis. I don't know how many thousands are involved with these missions. This is the second one. They've already got the third one, probably rolling it out to the launch pad. That's supposed to happen here in 27, isn't it? The next one where they're going to drop a vehicle onto the moon with the next one. I think that's the next mission. Does that ring a bell? But they're going to take it to the next step. And so all of those are involved.
I've heard a couple things that they're going to do one more mission and study a couple other things, and then the second one out they will try to land. I don't know. They didn't consult me. So
I think this one that they're talking about is unmanned, and then a manned one to drop a vehicle onto the moon. But anyway, my point being is that here you have this new generation who's just not getting excited about it. Somehow they think that all the coverage, the media that I watch and media that I don't watch, is covering the Artemis missions, and this group of hoax conspiracy theorists think that CNN and Fox and
they lie about everything else.
Yeah, well, they do, but they're conspiring together. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
That the program director for Fox calls up CNN. Okay, here's our position today. We're going to say that that they landed on the moon. Okay, are you guys in? And everybody works together. I'm excited about our next hour, boss.
Back in a minute.
Make sure that you subscribe and follow the Cowboy State Politics podcast. You can do that from the website, cowboystatepolitics.com, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. That way, you'll make sure that you won't miss a single episode of Cowboy State Politics. Hunting season. Right about now, you're off with all of your pals, stalking the big gigantic elk or buck mule deer that you've been thinking about all summer long. And your lovely wife is at home, probably enjoying her time without you. But soon, my friend, all of that is going to come to a screeching halt. And I want you to think about just one little thing. She's able to park her car inside the garage because all of your hunting crap is with you right now. Now, if you'd like the marital bliss to continue, I suggest you make a call to Marcos and Jesse at Morton Buildings. Their phone number is 307-674-2532. They can build you a garage or a barn or any other type of metal structure for you to store all of your toys in so that your wife can continue parking inside the garage. And you can avoid sleeping on the couch for the next month or two. Call Morton Buildings. Their phone number is 307-674-2532. Get them to build you a metal building before it's too late.
Yeah, I got this. Howdy, welcome back. Cowboy State Politics. John Baggett, a.k.a. your buddy Bags. Ken Pendergraft over there, engineer, co-host, Wyoming State representative from the 29th District.
Not only from, but in it.
In it.
As we
all over it.
But more importantly, we have a guest with us today. Bill, it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
I was getting to that. Yes, we do. And I'm really excited about it because this next hour, my goal here is, as much as I can, is to honor and to thank veterans. So one of the things, Ken and I have become friends. I think we first met when you were putting a campaign together, and I was managing the radio stations over there, Bighorn Mountain Radio, that no longer exists. But I was there for about 5 years, and Ken would come in and he'd make his campaign commercials. And
I would come in and drop them off. I made them in my studio.
Right. Okay. Point
Fair
being,
enough. Fair enough.
I
yeah.
met the guy.
That's the point. Yeah.
And he became a resource to me on topics. Yes, Ken is conservative. I'm probably a little bit closer to the middle, but I get a perspective from somebody in the house that it's just a blessing, Ken. I don't thank you because now we're friends, but I really appreciate it, and you have helped me, and you've sent me information about what's happening and what are some of the proposals and some of the things to be thinking about, so I can find a position on some of these things that I just didn't
Trust me,
know
give
about.
me enough time. I'll get you where you need to be.
Oh yeah, well, I don't know. I've kind of stuck in my ways now, but anyway, the point being is that I find out too that that Ken is a veteran, Army veteran, and my son, I have told people before, is currently serving in the Army. He's at Fort Bragg, and he's a captain, company commander, jump master. He went through, at a UW graduate, by the way, went through officer candidacy school is how he ended up as an officer. And he's approaching, I think, 10 years in the military. So
that's funny because he was, I think, going on his first deployment or something the first time I came in to see you back in 2020.
He went to Afghanistan. They sent him in his platoon to, at that time he was a lieutenant, and he had was a platoon commander, and they sent him to Qatar. And during the Afghanistan evacuation, he was involved with that, and just some of the stories, and I won't get into it, details. I don't think Joseph would want me to. He's told me on more than a few occasions, what, Dad, you want me to give you the strategy and troop deployment and where we are? And I said, no, okay, I get it.
That's what CNN does.
Right? Yeah, anyway, yeah, I could go off on all that. But anyway, point being is that my son is serving, and so I, more than ever, always have had an appreciation for folks who serve. I did not serve. Funny story in Wheatland when it was career day, and the military took over the science building. So you had the Army, Air Force, Navy, and Marines in a building, and I was somewhat attracted to that, but I was playing football and I wanted to play at the next level and so on. But I'm walking to consider the military, and I'm walking towards the science building, and right out front, right in front in his dress blues with this Marine, and he shouts at me as I'm approaching. You want to be a Marine, boy? I think I did a proper about face and turned around and went the other way. That was my consideration for joining the military. I gave up on it right then and there. So point being is that family, my son, have a cousin, have a best friend's son who's a sergeant in, no, he's a major now. Yikes. Yes,
maybe
major in the Marine Corps. I'm just trying to think because I get confused here.
Yeah.
But he in the Marine Corps, and there's other family and friends with military backgrounds, with great respect. So obviously, for me, any chance I get to spotlight some veterans, I'm going to do it. And how convenient that I have an Army veteran co-hosting here with me. And Ken, how long were you in the military?
9 years.
9 years, and you went
9 years, 9 months, and 4 days. But who's counting?
Right, and so you went in as a pimply-faced teenager. Would you come out?
No, I did not. In fact, they called me Grandpa in basic.
Like Joseph.
I was 23 and had a couple of kids.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I went I went to basic training, I think it was 1984, 85. All of the drill instructors were Vietnam veterans. The senior drill instructor had been a POW and had had his tongue cut out. So he talked like this.
Oh, my God.
And he was very intense. And he'd start yelling orders at you, and you're a little bit beside yourself anyway. You know, one Marine did something to you that ran you out of the military, this guy would have blown you away. But he was also the one that was in charge of sick call. So if you wanted to take advantage of sick call, you had to get up at 4:30 in the morning and go down to the company barracks and tell this man who had been a POW who had no tongue that your tummy hurt and you couldn't work today.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody ever went to sick call that whole.
So, what 9 years plus? Thank you for your service.
Almost 10.
Almost 10 years. What'd you come out as? What was your rank?
I had just made E6. I never pinned it on because they told me I had to re-enlist to pin it on. But after the first 4 years, I was a buck sergeant promotable. And depending on your MOS, if they have room, they'll promote you. And if they don't, you just sit there where you're at. So I sat there where I was at. But I had an opportunity to be an acting jack, warrant officer for a while because I had gone to some good schools for maintenance and some other things. And I had a really good career. We went to Desert Shield, Desert Storm, provide comfort. I was over there about 7 months, 7 months. It's hard to tell because on both sides of that, we were working continually. That was in a transportation battalion at the time, and it kind of blends. But anyway, got back from that and had a little bit of time left to serve, and I got put in a position to teach young lieutenants to be motor officers, and that was a blast.
And that's when you were at Fort Carson. Then.
Yeah, back at Fort Carson. I served at Fort Carson twice.
You bet. Well, and then our guest today, Bill, first of all, let me tell folks what happened to me just the other day. And I sent you a few pictures.
We did have one picture up earlier.
Yeah,
of the
you
two
showed
of
the one.
Was it? And I do have
selfie. It was the selfie.
A video of Bill. So let me set it up here. So Bill calls me up and says, "Hey, going to be headed out. Wanted to see if you wanted to go for a ride in your Mooney M20."
Correct.
And is it M20 something else?
Yeah, it's an M20E.
E. Okay. And it is 1966 Mooney M20E. And it is tight quarters, small space, very intimate. But we got to go up, and if you can, we'll drop in there a video. There we are together. There's the selfie.
I got to be honest, I don't see a video.
It's on a separate email, brother.
Okay. You guys go back to what you were doing. I'll see if I can't find it.
Sure, you bet. So before we get to your military background, let's talk about you as a pilot. How long have you flown this is the first private plane you've owned, the Mooney?
Yes.
And how long have you had that?
I bought it in 2005.
2005. And tell us a little bit about that aircraft. Obviously it has upgrades. I could tell by your control panel that these were not, at least most of them, not 1966 technology. So this aircraft has been updated, and it flies very well. It was a smooth ride. We picked a good day, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, my father actually owned a brand new 1966 Mooney. He wasn't rich enough to own it himself, so we formed a group here in town. And when he became the district governor for Rotary for all of Wyoming, one of his duties was to visit all of the clubs. And so we decided, well, let's buy an airplane to facilitate his travels. So we ended up buying one that was very similar to the one he had bought. This particular model has a little bit more power than some of the other models. And power in an airplane equates to climb capability. And in a mountainous area like Wyoming, we thought that was a good thing to have. And it is kind of a cult airplane. Everybody thinks that it's small. So I got tired of that. So I started measuring all the other airplanes. 172s, 182s, they're all the same width. Even a Bonanza is the same width. So you're always rubbing shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
And well, this airplane, you sit down more like you're at a sports car rather than at a dinner table.
Right. I never felt like I was, cramped, but I am 6'3", 250 pounds.
Yeah.
So, even if I'm getting into your Volkswagen Carbon Ghia, I'm going to be a little bit cramped. But the thrill, it was such a wonderful flight. It's the first time I've ever flown over and close to where our cabin is up there. And I've always wanted to do that because I'm one of those people that I like to see the lay of the land. I like to know where I'm at, and I've been lost in the woods before. I think that comes from that, to know where I am, and that really helped me. And it certainly, as I mentioned to you as we were flying over it, you really don't get the perspective any other way than to fly over it and put landmarks here. Oh yeah, I've hiked there and I've sat down there and I've fished over there, and that's how I get to that spot. So just wanted to thank you for that opportunity and that thrill. Did you find that video by chance?
I did find it. Thank you for bringing it up. And I have emailed it to myself twice.
Yeah, cool.
And I have not seen the thing arrive yet. So you guys just carry on. I'll let
no
you know
worries.
when I find it.
All right, so I got some of Bill's bio here. Why don't we talk a little bit, too, since we're talking about your current plane, before we get into your military background. You're part of the Sheridan Pilots Association. What's that organization all about?
Well, it was formed in 2010 when a guy came to town, JT Granger. He's been a real spark plug. He's been a real spark plug at the airport. We had some informal organizations prior to that, but he formalized it. And
he's also involved with the training in the school out there. What do you remember what that's called? I want to give it a plug if I can.
Yeah, it's that organization. We're Sheridan Pilots Association.
Right.
His organization is Sheridan Pilots 307.
That's right.
Yeah, JT has, I think, 4 email addresses for all of the organizations that he runs.
He's busy. He puts on that Wings and Wheels event. That's coming up in
6th of June.
June 6th. If you're into flying and aircraft and those things, go to what was it again? Pilots Sheridan.
Well, I just typed in Wings and Wheels Sheridan, Wyoming, and it comes up to the right page to buy a ticket.
Perfect. Wings and Wheels, because what they do with that event is, first of all, it's kind of a dress-up opportunity. Put on my clean cowboy boots and my black hat and go. But sometimes they have live music, great food, and libations, and then outside, not only is there various aircraft, which is kind of cool. Last year we had a demonstration by a P-51 Mustang. How cool was that? That gave me chills.
Yeah.
Well,
we had 3 demo pilots and then the night show, I believe.
Yeah. Fantastic. Then, like I said, you're right there. So helicopters and small aircraft, bigger ones, Lear jets, those kind of things, and everything in between, aircraft-wise. And, you can get really up close. And usually the owners of the aircraft are sitting there, and you say, hey, can I peek my head in there and take a look? And that's an opportunity to do that. Mm-hmm. So maybe you have a child in your life that, is enthusiastic about flying an aircraft, the Wings and Wheels. I mean, it sells out. I'll just give you a heads up on that. Yeah. But it's a great event and a chance to, because they do that, and they also do a car show at the same time.
Yeah, the local car aficionados bring out their favorites and park them in between the airplanes, so it's a lot to see.
Heck yeah.
So the email is still not showing up. I do have some photographs, though, if we wanted to flip
Sure.
through those and maybe have Bill tell us a little bit about what's in the photo.
Yeah, I wanted to make this transition here
Let's do that.
to your military background. Perfect segue here. Thanks, Ken. So, as I mentioned earlier, if you were listening in the first hour, I mentioned to Bill the other day that I had a particular favorite aircraft. I had no idea that this is in your background. It was a model, at least on a few occasions, that I built as a kid. I don't know this generation, if it's as prolific as ours with model building. That smell of that glue.
I was just going to say, it was just the glue that was the attractive.
I guess so. That's why we're all a little bit weird of that generation. Too much airplane glue, model glue. But there it is. That's one photo of the F4. Bill, you sent that to me. You've flown that or ones like it. And again, let's quickly go over your military background. That would be the right way to do it. So you joined the Air Force at which age?
Well, it's 1970, so I wasn't quite yet 21.
So did you?
It wasn't quite 22.
So it wasn't right out of high school.
No, Ken was enlisted, and I was an officer. And in order to be an officer, you have to have a college degree.
Right. My son.
So I
did
had
the
to go to the
same.
University of Wyoming for 4 years, and went through the Air Force ROTC program. So graduated with my degree in mechanical engineering with an aerospace option, and got my gold bars as a second lieutenant in the Air Force.
So you mechanical engineer, you're organized. I'm just kidding. That's my
I wish I
description.
were.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
I strive.
Well, and I mentioned earlier, my son did the same route, had a degree, and then went the officer candidacy school. Before he came out as they called him a butter bar, a
Correct.
second lieutenant. Same with the Air Force. Is that how it?
Yeah, Army and Air Force ranks are the same on the officer side.
So now you go to where did you go for basic?
Well, ROTC is your basic, and we did
Okay.
have one summer camp, and so I went to summer camp at Fairchild in Spokane, Washington. I went all 4 years of ROTC. There was an option to go only 2, and so I went to summer camp between my junior and senior year to Fairchild.
Gotcha. And at this point, you had already made a decision that you wanted to be a pilot. You wanted to fly.
That was I wasn't dodging the draft, but some people were at the time, and so declaring that you wanted to be a pilot was an advantage in getting into ROTC.
Okay. So yeah, that makes sense. I get it. So, so now you're, being trained, and so at what point do they take you out of a trainer, and you start looking at flying jets? How does that transition happen?
Well, pilot training for me was down at Laughlin Air Force Base in Del Rio, Texas. And so this is 1970 through 71. And at the time, the Vietnam War was hot and heavy.
Right.
And our class was around 80 or so people. They had thought that, we needed a lot of pilots. But then there was a downturn, so they decided they didn't need so many of us. So in our half of the class, one guy short of half of the class were washed out. They didn't need us at that particular time.
Yeah, and if you're studying your Vietnam history, that was when we were starting the process of getting out of it, I guess.
Right.
But
and so I thought, okay, here I'm a kid from Wyoming, small fish in a big pond. So I kind of had my eyes set on an OV-10. I wanted to go to Vietnam. But I finished high enough in my class. At that time, you submitted a list of what airplanes you wanted to fly. They sent down a list of, here are airplanes available. And then we, as baby pilots, submitted a list of what we wanted to fly. And I got high enough in my class that I got my first choice, which was the F4.
Wow. Okay. So now we make it to the F4, and so you're at some point you're transferred to a unit somewhere where the F4 obviously is parked there waiting for you. And where was that?
Well, pilot training, they call it the year of 53 weeks. So it was a year of pilot training at in Texas. And then they call them a replacement training unit, RTU. We've already mentioned that acronyms and buzzwords are common. The Air Force and the Army and seem to be really good at it, though.
Oh, yeah.
So that was in Victorville, California, George Air Force Base, now closed. And that was about 6 months of training in the F-4. From pilot training, you know how to fly a basic airplane, and you know some about formation. But then in your weapon system, which is how they call it, your airplane, we learned how to employ it, how to drop bombs, how to fly tactical formation, how to fight air-to-air.
And this is a two-seater aircraft, or are there single-seaters as well?
No, it was technically possible to fly the F-4 from just the front seat, but I never did that. I always flew with a crew member. So my crew member was Larry Price. He was a fellow second lieutenant. And
so you guys,
like it took about 6 months to train us. And then I go to my operational unit, which if you go back to the F-4 picture.
There we go.
So this is April of 1972. So the war had just started again.
Oh, so this is an aircraft that you...
Yeah, I looked in my records and I flew that airplane
awesome.
3 times. That exact airplane 3 times.
Gotcha.
And during the Vietnam War, or leading up to the Vietnam War, the Air Force was really Strategic Air Command centric. So we thought there would never be another conventional war. So the Air Force was very, very concentrated on nuclear war.
Right.
And so when the Vietnam War ginned up, the airplanes that the Air Force had weren't really suitable for that war. So the Air Force had to, bite the bullet and buy a Navy airplane.
Matching you up with your co-pilot,
Wizzo,
your Wizzo, weapons
systems officer.
There you go. And how do you get a partner? They bring in a psychiatrist and see whose personalities will match up well and work well together.
No, I think in the Soviet Air Force you had to see a psychiatrist every time you went out to fly.
Is that right?
But in the U.S. Air Force we didn't, and I'm not sure exactly how they matched us up. In my particular class, I think there were 6 pilots who were just like me, straight out of pilot training, and then 6 others who were more experienced. One of them who had been a backseater in the F-4 as a pilot and now was transitioning to the front seat.
Oh, I see.
He got a kill during Operation Bolo as a backseater. And then another one was
a
lieutenant.
On a MiG, or was it a ground attack? Or
no, a kill on a MiG, air-to-air kill. And another one was a lieutenant who had served a tour in Vietnam, but his tour was curtailed due to hepatitis. And he later became the lead astronaut. It was Brewster Shaw.
Oh, wow.
And then all of
these are the people you're rubbing shoulders with.
Yeah.
It's a good day for us to have you in.
And then all of the navigators, I believe, were straight out of navigator school. We didn't have anybody with prior experience.
On this photograph again with the F-4, the one that you actually flew.
I can point out a few things on it.
Yeah, I wanted to, especially the weapons systems. If this is 1972, we agree.
1970. I was there April 72 to April 73.
So, and I'm seeing the weapons under the wing. What are we looking at here?
Okay, well, first the airplane. The tail number is FP, Foxtrot Papa. That was the tail designation for my squadron, 497th Tactical Fighter Squadron, Night Owls. We flew almost exclusively at night. By this time, the war had been going on a long time. And UBON had given up the MiG killing mission. So now UDORN was the MiG killers. So if you were going over for your second or third tour and you had any pull at all, you didn't go to UBON. And then UBON, most of the other bases, they just kind of rotated you around the schedule. But at U-Bomb, they split the clock into 4 parts, and one squadron flew in the morning, one flew in the afternoon, and one squadron,
So
the
there was-
497th, flew at night.
Yeah,
So if you get to
24/7.
U-Bomb, you definitely don't want to go to the 497th. So we were a very young squadron. So I was a flight lead. I was an evaluator, an instructor pilot, as a
that right?
lieutenant
I see.
in the war,
And you flew at night. And,
almost exclusively at night.
why and what's that experience, and what are you looking for at night? Is it all flying by instruments and so forth?
No. We had several missions. One was to escort the Spectres, the AC-130s. So we would fly daisy chains around the top of them, and if somebody would shoot at them, then we would drop cluster bombs, usually on the guys who were shooting at them. They also had a capability to use a laser, and so we could coordinate with them, and we could drop laser-guided bombs on their spot. We could go out by ourselves and look for trucks on the road to try and bomb supplies coming down the Ho Chi
Right.
Minh Trail. We also had a night fast FAC mission. FAC is forward air controller, most of which were small propeller-driven airplanes that went slow, so fast we were a jet. Started with F-100s. And so we carried flares and smoke rockets. So we'd find a target, smoke the target, and have somebody else bomb the target.
When you hear Ho Chi Minh Trail, if you're into war history like I am, and that includes the Vietnam War, and when you hear the Ho Chi Minh Trail and then you meet somebody who had to fly over it, it's almost surreal, because it's so much lore and a very tumultuous era of our American history.
Well, let me go to one more mission during the
you bet.
Christmas of
Please do.
Christmas of April, or Christmas of '72. I call it 12 days of Christmas. We flew very high and dropped chaff to mask the B-52 raids that were coming in above us.
Wow, it just be around that much firepower, just awesome. It's just got to be awesome. I wanted to go back to the picture of the plane.
Okay, yeah.
That's the F-111, but I want one more time.
Go to the F-4, yeah.
F-4, and wanted to
It's there somewhere.
ask you this. Now, was the F-4 supersonic?
Very supersonic.
Very, yeah.
Yes.
Tell me.
It was 2.3 or 4 or something. And the limitation on that is normally the inlet. And so it's hard to see on the F-4, but the inlet changes shape. So even the modern F-16 is not as fast as an F-4. It has more thrust, but its inlet doesn't do very well supersonic.
I see.
Now the F-15, its inlet is complex and does all sorts of magic stuff.
And so your experience with G-forces, all of us that see that we always wonder if we went on a flight like that, if I would pass out. So
Right.
I didn't do very well on a merry-go-round, so.
yeah, we flew on Monday
Right.
in a Mooney M20, and I was a little concerned. I said, well, how? Remember I mentioned, I said, well, notice that I didn't say I don't get air sick or seasick. I'm not motion sickness kind of person, but I was careful not to say that because I wasn't sure. But didn't know then what I know now about your background. It's almost a little bit embarrassing because of your experience. And at what point did you know that you could handle it? And what does that feel like? What is the top G-forces that have hit your body?
Well, the airplanes of that era were limited to 7.33 Gs, and so I've hit that many times. In fact, during some of the missions in Southeast Asia, the night fast FAC mission, you would be in orbit, so you'd be in a 2 or 3 G turn orbit for a half an hour. Rolling into a dive bomb pass was usually 3 or 4 Gs. Pulling out of a dive bomb pass was usually 4 Gs, maybe 5. And so...
do you remember what that felt like? Is it something you'd never forget?
Oh, sure, yeah. And we had the assistance of they call it a G suit. It's actually an anti-G suit, but it squeezes your legs and your abdomen to keep the blood up from your heart to your head.
Right.
And so to keep you awake.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a break? And I want to talk about the F-111. That's he also flew.
No. Well, we never got the munitions on the F-4.
Oh, that's right. We never did. The munitions, one more time, Ken, showing, because it looks like on this particular, like it's radar guided, not this one.
That's as big as I can make that picture.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're going to go to the F4.
Go to the F4, yeah.
This is the first one that we started with. And yes, please describe what I'm looking at.
So the antenna on the top, we called it a Talbar antenna, and it was a Loran. So today we have GPS. Back then, Loran was a very precise means of navigation. Most of the airplanes just had an inertial navigation system in it. And then on the wing, the outboard wing is a fuel tank, a 370-gallon wing tank. And then to the left of that, on the left inboard, are 3 Mark 82 500-pound bombs with fuse extenders on them, sometimes called daisy cutters. And then on the center line, I think there should be 6 Mark 82s with no fuse extenders. And then we had some asymmetrical loads, but this one is probably 6 more daisy cutters over on the right and another fuel tank over on the right.
And so some of those were not precision guided, but they were directed by your flight pattern into the targets. Is that correct?
Right. No, it was just call them a dumb bomb. It's just ballistic. So you had to very precisely set up the conditions to release the bombs so that it would hit the target. And our accuracy was not very good, maybe in combat, measured in 100 feet, maybe more.
Wish I could
Whereas
make that
our
photo bigger.
Yeah, with our laser guided bombs, and we dropped a lot of laser guided bombs at the time.
You did.
They had an accuracy of feet,
Right. And then of course your weapons operator in the back, that was his primary responsibility.
Well, we had 3, I think,
Wizzo.
systems. Yeah, we had 3 or 4 different systems in country. In our airplane, we were never the designator. There were OV-10s that could designate for us, and there were the Spectres, which I mentioned, could designate for us.
Are the OV-10s the ones with the big radar?
No, the OV-10 was a twin boom, sort of like a P-38.
Okay.
The OV-10 Bronco.
Gotcha.
The Air Force and Marines flew them.
Well, we're here with a bunch of capitalists, and usually we take a break here down at the bottom of the hour because I want to come back and get to the F-111, and we got some cool shots. You saw a little tease there with the bombing run, and I want to hear a little bit about flying one of those as well. With us today, Air Force veteran Bill Patton, local pilot, and we're talking in honoring veterans today and talking about his service. We'll be back. Cowboy State Politics.
Are you tired of all the meaningless political drivel floating around right now? Endless commentary that really doesn't have anything backing it up? Do you long for the days of true investigative journalism coming from an authoritative source who really doesn't care how popular and apparently good-looking a politician is? Fortunately for you, that's what I do on Cowboy State Politics. New episodes are published every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and you can get them anywhere that you get your podcasts. iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, really any of them will work. But the easiest way is just to go to the website, cowboystatepolitics.com. There, you can find all of the shows, as well as any of the articles I might bring up during the course of the program. Cowboy State Politics Live, the program you're listening to right now, is broadcast every Tuesday through Friday beginning at 8 a.m. Pay attention to all of that other block-headed nonsense if you want. Just make sure that you don't miss an episode of Cowboy State Politics. And now, back to our program.
Hey, welcome back. John Baggett, a.k.a. Bags. That's my call sign. Bags. Did you have a call sign?
No, when I was in the Air Force, that was not common.
Okay.
I mean, I had like 3 or 4 call signs, but it wasn't like it turned into after I was getting out of the Air Force.
It wasn't old blood and guts, like, you know.
No,
And
I was Candyman and Hero and Our Girl.
I had a call sign,
Is
believe it or not.
Was it a middle finger? Right?
Well, that one was commonly used, but back in the CB days, when I worked on the mountain with my grandfather, and we tended a bunch of reservoirs, and he was the big beaver, and I was the little beaver.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah. So anyway, a lot of us get our information from Hollywood, unfortunately. So that's where you get that. But again, the F4, that was your first fight.
Which reminds me, if I could just throw this question in there, because I'm curious about it.
Sure.
In Top Gun, there's the famous deal about you were in a negative 12G dive and gesticulating to the Russian pilot. And how could you do that? Because I was inverted. Talk for a second, if you would, about is that feasible?
It's definitely Hollywood. Fighter pilots in general don't like negative Gs. They try to keep the cockpits clean, but when you go negative G, whatever little dust is in there gets in your eyes. And the airplane isn't really designed to pull as many Gs in a negative direction as it in a positive direction. And so you turn. Your maneuverability is measured by the Gs that you can pull and sustain.
So under negative G, does the helmet squeeze your head and put it back in your thighs?
No, that's positive Gs. Negative
Okay.
Gs, your helmet wants to go up and fly off of your head.
Okay.
Or I was telling John that I flew with some people in my airplane, and we hit a downdraft, and I had warned them, have your seatbelt tight. And they didn't have it as tight as I wanted it because they hit their head on the ceiling. So
Yeah. They were into the comfort aspect as opposed to
Yes,
the
safety.
Right. But yeah, I could see, especially going over, and just to reset here, Bill Patton and I have been friends for about 6 years. Relatively recently, I started finding out more and more about his background as an Air Force veteran, and wanted to do a show today because I have Ken in here, and I have a son. By the way, I just sent you an email with Joseph taking his oath, just to reiterate why I am so enamored with our service folks. Thank you all that are listening who have served, and thank you two guys in my studio. 2 days in a row, it's mine. No, in the studio, the Cowboy State Politics studio. 2 veterans from the Army and Air Force right here with me. I don't know, did that show up for you? But I keep this. Joseph would hate this.
Yeah, it showed up. I have to send it to another email address to be able to show it.
It sounds
We're
so
on the way.
complicated.
It's
It's
too
like flying a
complicated.
F-111.
It's too complicated. You're in the pilot seat. I'm over here in the navigator.
I love the fact that I don't have to do diddly squat. At my old show, it was all me. And anything that went wrong, it was my fault, and I had nobody to help out. So I
Just
love
remember
that.
that's why you get paid what you're getting paid. It's
Yeah.
Diddly squat.
Big bucks. It's I'm donating my time here, but anyway, just pop it up there when you can. So the resetting, I wanted to do a show here since I had the microphone just to honor veterans and those who have served. And Bill, it occurred to me on Monday, after kind of getting a little more background on it, your experience. And you don't know that. We've sat and had beers together and a hot dog near the cabin and so forth. And I did know that you were a veteran at Air Force. Didn't realize that, and again, I wasn't kidding, but my favorite airplane is the F4, and here's the guy who's flown it. And yeah, so there's just a shot there. So Joseph, this is kind of funny. If you can see this, those out there listening and watching. So my son is next to the shorter Hispanic-looking young man, and my father, John Sr., can you see him in the back row?
In the red blazer?
He's in tears.
In the red blazer? Yeah.
Yes, and right next to him is my father-in-law, but you can't see him. But that's my dad, and he is in tears as Joseph is taking his oath. That I wanted to point out.
Is that the Denver maps?
I don't remember. This is 10
Looks really familiar.
years ago. But yeah, so Dad's face is kind of indicative of the way we all felt. Now remember, Joseph, he was nominated for the academies, and things didn't work out, and so he ended up going to school, got his degree. He was working for a media company, had a business marketing degree, and was working had a house, a girlfriend, a dog. And he calls me up one day at work. I was managing the Salem media radio stations at that point in Denver. And he says, Dad, and this is after we paid for college, and they bought him a truck because he finished in 4 years and saved us money, got scholarship money. And he said, Dad, I want to serve my country. And I was confused. I said, wait, what? You know, it seemed to me like his life had started. But I knew that he was very much interested in the military growing up. And he, as I said, he was nominated and too long involved story that he ended up not going to the academy. Ended up being the captain of the rugby team at the University of Wyoming, and did a year abroad. Went to Italy. Still speaks pretty good Italian, and graduated in 4 years, and then had a job, a career, girlfriend, dog, blah 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 blah, and calls up and says, "I want to serve my country." And I didn't understand what that meant. I said, "Well, you're 25 years old at this point." Ken, remember we were talking earlier when he brought that up about being 23. You weren't a kid. Well, he was grandpa. And if you'll go back to that picture real quick, you're going to love.
You don't
this.
know how tough that is to do.
I don't.
We folks, we have David and I have a way that we set things up and work together, and we have not quite established that. So I'm trying to jump between.
We're not the well-oiled machine that you and David are.
I'm sorry that I cannot comply at this time.
And I'm taking advantage of the fact. Anyway, there's a kid in front, 18-year-old kid, right in front. If you look at the look on his face, he is petrified. And that was, Joseph was there. So here's a 25-year-old man with a professional career and a degree, and he's in there getting, he take his oath to join the Army. And in there with him are 18-year-olds who, in some cases, looks like this might be the only option they have. And so there's a gentleman. We kind of make fun of that. I hope that kid is, wherever he ended up and how he did, I hope he's blessed, because he was very upset. And then, like, I'm standing, when I'm taking that picture, I'm standing 6 feet away from him, and I'm like, this kid is not happy, and he's wondering how he ended up where he ended up. But he did. He, committed to join the military. So again, I only bring that up again to emphasize that we have young people every day who are making a commitment like this. And because I know that how hard and how long it took Joseph, he ended up going to Ranger school and getting himself Ranger tabbed, and then he went on to become a commander of a company, airborne, and now jump master and so forth. So I know that journey, especially the folks who go special forces route, et cetera. And then in order to make it to the point where you're flying F4s and F-111s, man, what a commitment. And when people say thank you for your service, in a lot of cases, both of you guys, we really mean it. And it's not just cliche. And sometimes it's almost, from our perspective, and especially mine with having experienced this secondhand through my son, how hard and how incredibly dangerous, etc. And we get a little bit embarrassed. But I force myself, even if it feels uncomfortable, if I find out somebody's a veteran, I just say, "Hey, thanks. I get it, man. You worked hard, and you're special."
I'd like to jump in here for a second because people are always inviting me, and Bill, you probably get the same invitations to veterans functions and ceremonies and whatnot, and I often don't go. Not going to try to explain why or any of that, but there was a film that came out a while back, and in the movie, hard to even talk about it. In the movie, the soldiers begin to arrive before daylight, and they walk out onto the tarmac with their duffel bags and their gear, and they're getting ready to fly to combat. I lived that. And until you have actually done that and you don't know the emotion of where am I going to come back, what am I going to see, how long am I going to be there? And my mind was continually focused on my wife and 3 little children. And the whole time that we were over there, all of us together, the reason that we hung together and did what we had to do is we want to get home safely. That was all we could think about. You know, the mission was first, theoretically, but if you get right to the bottom of it, the mission was get home. But I say all of this in order to talk about what my wife and kids went through. It was one thing to be over there and go through those, the discomfort and the lack of sleep and hard work and all those other things. The worst part was thinking about what's going on at home. And them sitting there not knowing.
Right.
We didn't have cell phones. You couldn't just pick it up and call and, come in the evening and pull somebody up on Facebook and chat back and forth. She would send me a letter. It'd be a week or 2 before it caught up to me. I'd respond. So by the time she gets it back, it's like 5 or 6 weeks past. But I think about what the families went through, the folks back home. They are as much veterans and deserving of our appreciation.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing that, Ken. We have here in Sheridan the VA hospital, and I know some folks who are work for the VOA and other resources for veterans that have a tough time adjusting, and your description right there, Ken, is one aspect of it, the impact that it had on their family and therefore on the soldier, vicariously. And so I think about that all the time, and I'm, always concerned. I look for, with Joseph, with conversations with him, because of the experience. Now, Joseph is jumping out of airplanes and helicopters today, probably, maybe, and he's the jump master, and he's in charge of people's lives. And I ask him about that. I say, that kind of pressure, how are you? I mean, I encourage greatly for him to follow his faith, to have, something else to go on to. If you feel like, sharing maybe the impact on you, especially during wartime, and if you're not comfortable doing that, I get it, Bill. You don't have to. But maybe there's somebody out there listening, and they may have some issues. What's your thought on the psychological aspect of serving?
Well, I think the stereotype is that Vietnam vets are all messed up in the head. I am not. I'm fine.
Thank God.
But thank God for the VA, because my wife has actually served longer than I did. I served for not quite 30 years. She served for 33 and made the highest rank possible as an enlisted person, so Chief Master Sergeant.
Wow.
E9 in the Air Force. And she's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and so she's at the VA a lot. And now the disease has progressed to where the VA is providing some home support. So various people from the VA come and visit the house and visit Kathy and help. So yeah, we're blessed to have the VA here for sure.
and I know a few folks who work with veterans through the VOA and other organizations here, and have done broadcasts from our VA hospital and so forth. People don't realize, Fort McKenzie is quite famous as a psychological center in the VA program. So anyway, Sheridan has this relationship with veterans and with veterans who come home and who need some help. So both of you guys, thank you for visiting that topic.
You mentioned Fort McKenzie. My grandfather was at one point, he was in charge of security and the fire chief at the fort. And he also, of course, had a lot of interaction with the soldiers that were there. And there was an old World War II vet one day that had his bed pushed out into the hallway. And the bed, of course, at the foot of the bed had a crank. And he was sitting there messing with that crank and obviously very distracted and very disturbed. So my granddad walks by and the guy looks up and he says, "Damn Fords never would start."
Thanks, Ken, for lightening the mood. Is a good, thank you. All right, let's get back into the air here. We only got about 8 or 10 more minutes, so I want to get into the F-111. That is a bomber, right? Is it considered a bomber or a fighter?
It was a fighter bomber, but it was more of a bomber and not much of a fighter. This particular picture is of a...
What the heck?
Well, it's a picture of an F-111C. The C model was 24 of them were built for the Australian Air Force. And the airplane has a lot of fuel on board, 32,000 pounds of fuel. And if you wanted to get rid of it, you could dump it.
Oh, okay.
And the dump mast on the F-111 was right there between the two engines. And so if you dump the fuel and lit the afterburner, you could light this torch, we called it. And that picture is probably taken during the Olympics, because I know Australia did a flyby at night over the Sydney Bridge and torched.
Right. Well, and the so the F-111, that was the what do you call that? The wings move, in and out.
It was the first operational airplane in a lot of things, and the one that's notable is the variable sweep wing.
Right. And so I could see just the logic, especially after flying with you yesterday and learning the flaps and the guidance and so forth. I could see, to slow down in order to do a bombing run, which we see there. Looks like are those cluster bombs coming out of the...
No, I think those are 500 pounders. If you put that picture back up, I'm pretty sure it's Pete Chris flying that airplane. He was an Australian exchange officer with us. Their airplanes were grounded or something, so we had Australian exchange officers with us. He made 3 or 4 stars in the Royal Australian Air Force, and I'm still in communication with him.
Yeah.
But those were 500-pound bombs.
You were talking about the swept wings. Do you guys remember the old movie Jonathan Livingston Seagull?
Yes, I read the book.
And he's doing the dive, and he's trying to go as fast as he can, and then, and he finally learns just to stick a couple of feathers out. I have heard, and maybe you can confirm this, maybe you can't, I have heard that the concept behind the swept wing, was actually taken from birds that fly. Do you know anything about that?
It's probably true. Jonathan Livingston Seagull came out when I was in Vietnam when I read it, and when I was flying F-4s. But the wings forward so that you could slow down. And you said slow down for bombing runs? No, we sped up for bombing runs.
Okay. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Yeah, we normally bombed at 480 to 540 knots. And we could drop nuclear bombs supersonic.
I hate to do this to you. I did it to you the other day when you were talking about knots.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So 450 to 500 knots is
6 or 7. And it's, a statute mile is based on a human foot or something. 500. A nautical mile is a minute of latitude. So it's about 6,076 feet. It's slightly variable because the Earth isn't spherical perfectly. But it's an Earth-based measurement system, which makes a lot more sense for navigating on water or in the air.
So
and civilians are going how fast? It's miles per hour-ish.
Yeah, we'll multiply by 1.15.
So the Earth isn't perfect sphere. Are you saying then that it's flat? I'm just checking.
No, it's a oblate spheroid, I believe.
That was our first hour. If you missed it, we were really all over the flat earthers and the lunar landing conspiracy theorists out there. So the F-111 you flew after your F-4 experience?
Yes, my assignment came down as an F-111 after, or while I was at UBAN in the Air Force calls it Southeast Asia, because we didn't just bomb Vietnam, we bombed Laos and Cambodia.
Right.
And I liked the night. The airplane wasn't so hot to touch, and the colonels weren't out bugging you. And so I willingly took the assignment. But as you noted, it was a bomber. And it was a right seat centric bomber. We bombed on radar. And the right seater was in charge of the main of the big radar.
Right.
And so I always appreciated the airplane because it could do its job. And the job was high speed, low altitude, all weather, long range bombing.
Impressive looking aircraft.
Yeah.
Incredible. So you had again a Wizzo next to you. This time side by side, like we were on Monday. I was your Wizzo. You didn't tell me that.
That's right.
I would have been more impressed that I was
you were a passenger,
weapons officer. And there it is. That's where I was the weapons operator for the Mooney M20E. And that is your plane, isn't it?
That's my plane.
It's a beautiful plane. It is a classic. 1966 it was built. I was surprised to see it. You've taken immaculate care of it. And one of the things I was surprised by, I remember you saying earlier about how much you had to go through to get ready for flight. And so how much as a pilot, even in a small aircraft like that, how much pre-flight routine you have to go through. That I had no idea that it was that prolific, that there was so much that you had to do before you could take off. Now, Sheridan Municipal Airport is, you said, is a non-tower airport. Why is that, and how do we get away with that?
Well, sometimes they're called uncontrolled airports, but the FAA decides on which airport needs a tower based on the amount of traffic it has. So Wyoming only has 3.5 towered airports. So Jackson, Casper, and Cheyenne. And when Guernsey is hot, then they'll man that tower too. Gillette had a tower until a couple of years ago, but they didn't have the traffic apparently to justify it.
Well, we're almost out of time, but do you remember the 707, I think it was, in the 70s? It landed in Buffalo?
737.
737?
Yeah, and they couldn't take it off, right? Because they didn't have enough room.
They had to extend the runway for those.
No, they downloaded all the passengers, bussed them to Sheridan, I think. And then they had a light fuel load on, and they took it off.
Cut some weight.
Didn't they, when they touched down, didn't they go into the ground?
No,
There's a lot of stuff.
no.
This is,
Johnny Carson said you couldn't really blame the pilot, though, because he says the only difference between the Sheridan and Buffalo airports was about 6 feet of the height of the windsock.
Yeah. But when I heard that story, was before we moved to Wyoming, and I heard that story, and now to this day, don't they? Maybe again.
Well, they used to have I forget the pilot's name, but they used to have a pilot's day. And I think he came back a couple of times.
Don't they call Buffalo International Airport now just because a 737 landed there?
No, it's Johnson County Airport.
But you can imagine and I've heard, again, this is all stuff that I hear because I'm not in the Pilots Association, so you know the truth. I hear the lore and the perpetuating fake news, right, Ken, as we would call it?
Yeah, you got the cow pie version.
Shut up. All right. Well, hey, I guess we're right there close. I want to thank you. Absolutely, Bill. I appreciate you coming. Thank you for your service. Ken, thanks for a couple of days of letting me vent and make up stuff and talk about it, and to thank you for your service and to those listening.
Well, I'm glad you were here because, David can do 2 hours by himself, but that's a trick. So.
Yeah.
And thanks, Bill, for coming. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You
And
betcha.
next time I'll wear a hat so I don't blind the audience.
Yeah, hey, look at that. Our makeup artist didn't show
Yeah,
up.
the makeup people are a little slack.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, listen, Cowboy State Politics. You know where to find us. And thanks for listening. Enjoy your Wednesday.